Old Bop's fist slammed against the warehouse supervisor's desk so hard the coffee mug shattered on the floor. "You're firing me for being late one time." Derek Morrison smiled that cold, satisfied smile he'd been saving for months. "Clean out your locker, Langston. You're done here." What Derek didn't know, what nobody knew, was that 43 minutes earlier, Old Bop had pulled two freezing women from death's doorstep. Two women whose father owned half of Detroit. And that decision, that single moment of humanity on a frozen December morning, would either destroy everything Old Bop had built for his daughter, or change their lives forever. Drop your city in the comments. Let's see how far this story travels. The December cold in Detroit doesn't ask permission. It takes. It steals warmth from your bones like a thief in the night. And at 6:15 in the morning, with the temperature sitting at 17 degrees, it was stealing everything. Old Bop locked the door of his basement apartment, his fingers already numb through his worn gloves. 3 jobs. That's what it took to keep his daughter fed, clothed, and believing that her father had everything under control. He didn't. Rent was due in 5 days. The electricity bill sat unopened on the kitchen counter, and the bus to the warehouse left in exactly 18 minutes. "Daddy." Old Bop turned. His 8-year-old daughter Maya stood at the top of the basement stairs in her pajamas, clutching her stuffed rabbit. "Baby girl, what are you doing up? Mrs. Patterson is coming to watch you in an hour. I heard you leaving. You didn't say goodbye." Old Bop climbed back up 2 steps and kissed her forehead. "I always come back. You know that." "Promise. Promise. Now get inside before you freeze. I'll see you tonight." Maya nodded and disappeared back into the apartment. Old Bop watched the door close, then turned toward the street. That's when he heard them. 2 voices. Desperate. Crying. Old Bop's hand tightened on the rusty stair railing. His body went still. In this neighborhood, sounds like that usually meant trouble, the kind of trouble a black man should walk away from. Fast. But he didn't walk away. He moved toward the sound. 2 young women huddled against the brick wall of his building. Identical faces. Identical terror. Their designer coats might as well have been paper for all the good they were doing against the cold. "Please." One of them looked up, her teeth chattering so hard she could barely speak. "Please help us." Old Bop stopped 3 feet away, close enough to see the mascara streaked down their cheeks, close enough to see the blue tinge on their lips. These women didn't belong here. Everything about them screamed money, the kind of money that didn't exist in this part of Detroit. "Where are you trying to go?" His voice came out careful, measured. "We don't know." The other one spoke, her voice breaking. "We were at a club downtown. Someone put something in our drinks. We ran. We just kept running and now we're lost and it's so cold and our phones are dead and—" "Slow down." Old Bop held up his hand. "Slow down. You're saying someone drugged you?" Both women nodded. Old Bop's jaw tightened. He thought about his sister, that phone call from her college 3 years ago, the terror in her voice, the 2-hour drive praying she was okay. He looked at these 2 women strangers, rich white, and saw the same terror. "All right." He made his decision. "Come with me." "What?" "I said come with me. My apartment's right here. You need to get warm before you die out here." The first woman hesitated. "We don't even know you." "You're right, you don't. But you're about to freeze to death, and I'm the only person stopping. So you can trust me for 20 minutes, or you can take your chances out here. Your choice." The twins looked at each other. Some silent communication passed between them. "Okay," the quieter one whispered. "Okay." The apartment was small. 1 room. A bed, a couch, a kitchen area barely big enough to turn around in. The radiator clanked and hissed like it was fighting for its life. Old Bop grabbed his grandmother's quilt, the only thing of value he owned, and wrapped it around both women. "Sit down. I'm turning on the space heater." "Thank you." The first one's voice was still shaking. "I'm Lily. This is my sister Rose." Old Bop. Old Bop. Lily almost smiled through her chattering teeth. That's your name. It's what people call me. You want my life story, or you want to get warm? Warm. Definitely warm. Old Bop plugged in the space heater and positioned it near them. He stayed standing, keeping distance between himself and the two women. He knew how this looked. He knew exactly how this looked. I'm calling the police, he said, reaching for his phone. They'll get you home safe. No. Both women spoke at the same time. The panic in their voices made Old Bop freeze. No police? Rose said quickly. Please. Our father, he's Robert Kingsley. If the police get involved, it'll be all over the news by noon. The family reputation, the business, everything. Robert Kingsley. Old Bop repeated the name like it was supposed to mean something. You don't know who he is. Lady, I work 3 jobs and raise a daughter by myself. I don't have time for society pages. Lily pulled the quilt tighter. He owns hotels, restaurants, real estate. Half of downtown Detroit, basically. If he finds out we snuck out to clubs again, he'll cut us off. He's threatened it before. Old Bop stared at them. Rich girls, playing games with their fancy lives while he worked himself to death just to keep the lights on. So call him directly, he said. Tell him you're safe. Leave out the club part. We can't. Our phones are dead. And even if they weren't... Rose's voice dropped. He thinks we're at our apartment uptown. If he finds out we lied, that's not my problem. We know. Lily looked up at him. We know it's not. But you're the only person who stopped. Block after block, people saw us stumbling, clearly in trouble. They kept walking. Every single one. Old Bop said nothing. You stopped? Rose added quietly. You didn't have to. You probably shouldn't have. A black man helping 2 white women at dawn. You knew how it would look, but you stopped anyway. The words hit something in Old Bop's chest, something he usually kept buried. He glanced at the clock on the wall. 6:23. His shift started at 6:30. The bus had already left. Stay here, he said finally. There's bread in the cabinet. Peanut butter in the fridge. My daughter's still sleeping in the back, don't wake her. I'll figure out how to get you home when I get back. Where are you going? Work. If I still have a job. He grabbed his keys and headed for the door. Wait. Lily stood up, the quilt falling from her shoulders. You're just going to leave us here in your home, with your daughter. Old Bop turned back. You got a better option. She didn't. Lock the door behind me. Don't open it for anyone. And he was gone. The warehouse floor was cold and loud and exactly the same as it had been for 2 years. Old Bop moved through the loading dock, already knowing what was waiting for him. Derek Morrison stood at the time clock with his arms crossed. Langston? Derek. You're 43 minutes late. I know. Family emergency. Family emergency. Derek said the words like they were a joke. That's the 3rd one this month. Funny how your family only has emergencies on workdays. Old Bop felt the other workers slowing down, eyes turning toward them. The only black man on the morning shift, always under the microscope. It won't happen again. You're right. It won't. Derek's hand slammed down on the time card, blocking it. Because you're done here. Clean out your locker. The words hit like a punch to the gut. Derek, please. The words scraped out of Old Bop's throat. I need this job. I've got a daughter. Rent's due in 5 days. Should have thought about that before showing up whenever you felt like it. I show up every single day. I work harder than anyone on this floor. Not today, you didn't. Today, I was saving 2 women from freezing to death. Derek's smile didn't waver. Sure you were. The rage started building in Old Bop's chest. That familiar burn, the same feeling from childhood standing in the principal's office while teachers assumed the worst. The same feeling from his teen years being followed in stores by security. The same feeling from every job interview where he could see the decision being made before he even spoke. Not good enough, not trustworthy, not worth the chance. Old Bop's fist slammed against Derek's desk so hard the coffee mug shattered on the floor. "You've been looking for a reason since I started," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "And I finally gave you one. Congratulations." Derek stepped back, actual fear flickering in his eyes. "Get out before I call security." "I'm going." Old Bop grabbed his jacket from the hook. "But remember this moment, Derek. Remember it when you find out who those two women were. Remember it when you realize what you just did." He walked out of the warehouse into the bitter December morning. $800 every 2 weeks. Gone. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Mr. Langston, this is Lily. We found some food and made breakfast. We wanted to wait for you. When will you be home?" Old Bop closed his eyes. These rich girls had no idea what home meant when you couldn't pay for it. "Soon," he said. "I'll be there soon." The apartment smelled like actual food when Old Bop walked in. Scrambled eggs, toast, coffee that wasn't instant. His daughter Maya sat at the small kitchen table laughing at something Rose had said. "Daddy." Maya jumped up and ran to him. "These ladies made breakfast, real breakfast with eggs and everything. I see that." Old Bop's eyes moved to the twins. They'd cleaned up somehow, faces washed, hair brushed, wearing some of his old t-shirts over their club clothes. "You're back early," Lily said from the stove. "We weren't expecting you for hours." "Got fired." The word dropped like a stone into still water. "What?" Rose set down the plates she was holding. 43 minutes late. Supervisor's been waiting for an excuse. Gave him one. "Because of us." Lily's voice was barely a whisper. "You got fired because you were helping us." "Daddy." Maya tugged on his sleeve. "What does fired mean?" Old Bop knelt down to her level. "It means Daddy has to find a new job, baby girl. That's all." "But you liked your job." "I liked getting paid. There's a difference." He stood back up his knees, protesting. "Now go finish your breakfast. Mrs. Patterson will be here soon for your lessons." Maya returned to the table, but she kept looking back at her father with worried eyes. "This is our fault," Rose said. "We'll fix it. Our father, he knows people. He can make a phone call." "No." The word came out harder than Old Bop intended. "I don't need charity from people who don't understand what it's like to actually need something." The apartment went silent. Lily sat down on the floor across from where Old Bop had slumped into his only chair. Her expensive jeans touched his worn carpet. "You're right," she said quietly. "We don't understand. We've never worried about rent or food or losing a job. Everything's been handed to us our whole lives." Old Bop said nothing. "But we know what it's like to be scared." She met his eyes. "We know what it's like to feel helpless. Last night, those men at the club, they didn't see Robert Kingsley's daughters. They saw objects, things, and when we ran, nobody helped us, block after block." "Except you," Rose added. "You had every reason to keep walking, every reason, but you didn't." Old Bop looked at his daughter eating scrambled eggs like it was Christmas morning. Then at these two women who'd invaded his life and cost him his job. "The eggs are getting cold," he said finally. They ate together, 4 people from completely different worlds, sharing mismatched plates on a basement apartment floor. Maya told the twins about her school, her best friend, her dream of becoming a doctor. Rose talked about wanting to be a teacher, something her father considered beneath the family name. Lily confessed to hiding her paintings from parental judgment. For the first time in years, Old Bop's apartment felt like something other than a prison. 3 days passed. The twins stayed insisting they needed time to figure out their next move without alerting their father. Old Bop told himself it was temporary. Told himself he'd send them home soon. But every morning Maya woke up to real breakfast. Every evening Old Bop came home from job hunting to find his apartment clean, his daughter laughing, conversation waiting. On the 3rd night after Maya fell asleep, Old Bop sat on the front steps with Lily. "This can't last," he said. "I know." Your father's going to find out eventually. I know that too. And when he does, Old Bop shook his head. When he sees where you've been, who you've been with, it won't go well for me. Lily turned to look at him. What do you mean? I mean a rich white man is going to show up and see his daughters living in a black man's basement apartment. What do you think he's going to assume? That you're a good person who helped us? Old Bop laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. That's not how the world works, not for people like me. Then we'll make him understand. You can't make people like your father understand anything. They see what they want to see. Lily was quiet for a long moment. My father isn't perfect. He's controlling and judgmental, and he cares more about reputation than happiness. But he's not evil. When he meets you, when he sees what you've done for us, he'll see a poor black man who had his daughters for 3 days. Everything else will be noise. You don't know that. I know exactly that. Old Bop stood up. Because I've been that man my whole life. The one people make assumptions about before I even open my mouth. The one who has to work twice as hard for half the respect. The one who knows that doing the right thing doesn't protect you from the consequences. He headed back inside. Then why did you help us? Lily called after him. Old Bop stopped at the door. Because my daughter was watching. He went inside and locked the door behind him. The phone call came at 7 a.m. on the 4th day. Old Bop answered, expecting another rejection from another job application. Is this the man who has my daughters? The voice was cold, controlled, the voice of someone used to being obeyed. Mr. Kingsley, you know who I am. Good. That should make this simple. I'm sending a car. You will give me the address. You will have my daughters ready, and you will not speak to them again. Are we clear? Old Bop looked at Lily and Rose, who were watching him with nervous eyes. At Maya, eating cereal at the table. Your daughters are safe, Mr. Kingsley. They've been safe since the moment they walked into my home. But if you come here with assumptions about what kind of man I am, we're going to have a problem. Silence on the line. 1 hour, Robert Kingsley said finally. Text me the address. He hung up. Rose grabbed Old Bop's arm. What did he say? How angry is he? Angry enough. Old Bop pulled out his phone to text the address. But that's about to be your problem, not mine. We won't let him hurt you, Lily said. Whatever he says, whatever he thinks, we'll tell him the truth. The truth doesn't always matter to men like your father. It matters to us. Old Bop looked at her, really looked. For 3 days he'd been waiting for the mask to slip, for these rich girls to reveal who they really were. But the mask never slipped. Maybe because there wasn't one. Go get ready, he said quietly. Your father's coming. The black Mercedes pulled up exactly 1 hour later. Robert Kingsley stepped out wearing a suit that cost more than Old Bop made in a year. His expression was unreadable as he descended the concrete steps to the basement apartment. Old Bop opened the door before he could knock. Mr. Kingsley, your daughters are inside. Robert's eyes swept the apartment. The worn furniture, the peeling paint, the space heater working overtime, the little girl in pigtails watching him with curious eyes. His jaw tightened. Daddy? Lily rushed forward, Rose right behind her. Both hugged their father, relief and nervousness tangled in their voices. Please don't be mad. We can explain everything. We'll discuss this at home. Robert's voice was ice. His eyes landed on Old Bop again. How much? Excuse me. How much do you want? For your silence, for your trouble, for whatever this situation is. Robert reached for his wallet. Name your price. The insult burned through Old Bop like fire. His hands clenched into fists. The old rage rose up, the same rage from the warehouse, from every moment his entire life when people looked at him and saw less than human. But before he could speak, A small voice cut through the tension. My daddy doesn't want your money. Maya stepped forward, her chin raised, her eyes fierce. Maya. Old Bop reached for her. He helps everybody, mister. The old lady upstairs when her heat broke. The man on the corner who's hungry. These ladies when they were scared. He says that's what good people do. Robert Kingsley stared at the child. He says you gotta be good even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. That's why he's my daddy, and you're not. The apartment went completely silent. Old Bop put his hand on Maya's shoulder. Baby girl, go to your room. But Daddy. Now Maya. She went, but not before shooting one more defiant look at Robert Kingsley. Rose stepped between the two men. He didn't ask us for anything, Daddy. He gave us everything. His home, his food, his safety. He got fired from his job because he was late helping us. He treated us with more respect than half the men we've ever known. Lily added, her voice stronger than Old Bop had ever heard it. Rich men. Men from our world. He's more of a gentleman than anyone we've dated. Robert's expression shifted, confusion replacing certainty. He helped us because it was right, Rose continued. Not because he wanted something. When's the last time anyone in our circle did something just because it was right? Robert Kingsley looked at his daughters, at the small apartment they'd been living in, at the man they were defending with such conviction. Everyone wants something, he said, but his voice had lost its edge. Not him, both twins said together. And Old Bop stood there saying nothing, letting them fight for him, feeling something unfamiliar stirring in his chest. Validation. From people who had no reason to give it. Robert Kingsley sat down heavily in Old Bop's only chair. He looked older suddenly, tired. I apologize, he said finally, the words clearly difficult. I made assumptions. Most people do, Old Bop replied, neutral, careful. That's not an excuse. Robert looked at his daughters still standing near Old Bop like bodyguards. You saved my girls. Whatever brought them here, you kept them safe. I owe you more than money. I don't want your money. Then what do you want? The question hung in the air. Old Bop thought about lying, saying he wanted nothing, but his daughter's face flashed in his mind. Maya watching everything, learning. I want a fair chance, he said. That's all. At a job, at life, at being seen as something other than what people assume when they look at me. Robert was quiet for a long moment. I own 17 businesses, he said slowly. Hotels, restaurants, real estate development. I'm always looking for good people, people with integrity. I don't want charity. It's not charity, it's an offer. Robert stood, extending his hand. Come work for me. Prove yourself. If you're half the man my daughters believe you are, you'll earn every dollar. Old Bop looked at the offered hand. Risk, change, the possibility of something better, the probability of spectacular failure. His daughter's words echoed in his head. He helps everybody. That's what good people do. He shook Robert Kingsley's hand. When do I start? Monday. Kingston Hotel downtown. Ask for the general manager. Robert turned to his daughters. Let's go home. But neither twin moved immediately. Lily hugged Old Bop quickly. Thank you for everything. Rose followed. This isn't goodbye. Then they were gone. The Mercedes disappearing up the street. Old Bop closed the door. Maya emerged from her room. Daddy? What happened? Old Bop picked up his daughter and held her tight. I don't know yet, baby girl, but I think maybe something good. Outside, the December wind howled. But for the first time in years, Old Bop didn't feel cold. Monday came faster than Old Bop expected. He stood outside the Kingston Hotel at 7:45 in the morning, his best shirt pressed, his only tie knotted tight against his throat. 40 stories of glass and steel towered above him, reflecting the gray Detroit sky like a mirror. Maya had insisted on picking out his tie that morning. "The blue one, Daddy. It matches your eyes." "I don't have blue eyes, baby girl." "Then it matches your heart. Blue like the sky, big and good." He'd worn the blue tie. The lobby was everything his basement apartment wasn't: marble floors, crystal chandeliers, people moving with purpose in suits that cost more than his monthly rent. Old Bop felt every eye turn toward him as he approached the front desk. "I'm here to see the general manager, David Chen." The receptionist, a young woman with perfect makeup and a practiced smile, looked him up and down. "Do you have an appointment? Robert Kingsley sent me." The practiced smile flickered. "One moment, please." She made a call, speaking in hushed tones. Old Bop waited, feeling the weight of judgment from every direction. A security guard had already positioned himself nearby, watching. "Mr. Langston." Old Bop turned. A middle-aged Asian American man approached, hand extended. Kind eyes, firm handshake. "David Chen. Mr. Kingsley told me to expect you. Let's talk in my office." The interview lasted 45 minutes. David asked about his work history, his skills, his goals, never once mentioning the twins, never once making Old Bop feel like a charity case. "I'm going to be straight with you," David said, finally leaning back in his chair. "Mr. Kingsley doesn't usually call me personally about new hires. When he does, it's either a favor he's repaying or a test he's setting up. I don't know which one you are." "Does it matter?" "It matters to me, because if you're here to coast on connections, we're going to have problems. But if you're here to work," David studied him, "then I'm going to treat you like anyone else who walks through that door. That's all I'm asking for." "Good." David stood. "You're starting in maintenance. $18 an hour. Not glamorous, but honest. Show me you're reliable and there's room to move up." $18 an hour. More than Old Bop had ever made in his life. He kept his face neutral, but something cracked open in his chest. Something that felt dangerously like hope. "When do I start?" "Right now. Carlos is waiting for you downstairs. He'll show you the ropes." Old Bop stood, shook David's hand again. "Thank you. I won't let you down." "Don't thank me yet. Thank me when you've been here 6 months and still feel the same way." Carlos Martinez was 53 years old, built like a fire hydrant, and had been working maintenance at the Kingston for 12 years. "So you're the guy," he said, handing Old Bop a uniform. "The one Kingsley called about personally." "I'm just here to work." "That's what they all say." Carlos started walking, not bothering to check if Old Bop was following. "Here's how this works. I don't care who you know. I don't care why you're here. You do your job. You don't make my life harder. We're good. You slack off, you disappear when there's work to do. I'll have you gone before Kingsley even knows you're missing." "Fair enough." Carlos stopped walking and turned around. "You're not going to argue. Tell me about your connections. Threaten to go over my head. Would any of that make you respect me?" "No." "Then why would I waste both our time?" Carlos stared at him for a long moment. Then something shifted in his face, not quite a smile, but close. "All right, new guy. Let's see what you've got." The first week was brutal. Old Bop learned every inch of the Kingston Hotel from the basement up. Boiler rooms, electrical panels, plumbing systems that ran like veins through 40 stories of luxury. His hands blistered, then calloused. His back ached every night. But he showed up, every single day, first one in, last one out. The maintenance crew watched him at first, waiting for the Kingsley connection to surface, waiting for special treatment. When it didn't come, they started talking to him, teaching him, including him. "You're not what I expected," Marcus Williams said one afternoon. They were replacing a water heater on the 12th floor, sweat dripping despite the December cold. "Word around here was you're some kind of con artist, scammed the boss's daughters, got yourself a job." Old Bop tightened a valve. "That what people are saying?" "That's what some people are saying. Others say you saved them from freezing to death and turned down money when Kingsley tried to pay you off. Which version do you believe? Marcus handed him a wrench. I believe what I see. And what I see is a man who works harder than anyone I've hired in 5 years. That's enough for me. 2 weeks in, David Chen called Old Bop back to his office. Close the door. Old Bop's stomach tightened. This was it. Whatever grace period he'd been given was over. I've been getting reports, David said, not looking up from his paperwork. From Carlos, from the rest of the crew. I can explain. They say you're the best worker they've seen in years. David finally looked up. They say you volunteer for the jobs nobody wants. That you stay late without being asked. That you've learned more in 2 weeks than most people learn in 2 months. Old Bop said nothing. Didn't trust himself to speak. I told you to show me you're reliable. David continued. Consider that box checked. Now I need to know, what do you actually want long term? Because maintenance is fine, but it's not a career. Not for someone with your work ethic. I want to provide for my daughter, Old Bop said. I want her to see that hard work means something. That doing the right thing isn't stupid even when it feels that way. That's a good answer, but it's not what I asked. Old Bop hesitated. I want to be somebody, Mr. Chen. Not famous, not rich. Just somebody who matters. Somebody people respect because of what I've built, not what I've been given. David nodded slowly. Then keep doing what you're doing, and maybe start thinking about what comes next. The encounter stayed with Old Bop all day, all week. What comes next? He'd spent so long just surviving one paycheck to the next, one crisis to the next, that he'd forgotten what it felt like to plan, to hope. Maya noticed the change first. Daddy, you're smiling more, she said one evening, watching him cook dinner. Actual dinner, chicken and vegetables instead of instant noodles. His first real paycheck had felt like winning the lottery. Am I? Yeah, and you're singing again. You used to sing all the time when I was little. Then you stopped. Old Bop set down the spatula and knelt beside her. When did you get so smart? I was always smart. You just didn't notice because you were too tired. The words hit harder than she intended. Maya's eyes went wide. I didn't mean... No, baby girl. You're right. He pulled her into a hug. I was tired. Too tired. But I'm not anymore. And I'm going to do better. I promise. You're already doing better, Daddy. I can tell. 3 weeks into the job, Old Bop walked out of the service elevator on the executive floor and nearly collided with Lily Kingsley. She was carrying a briefcase, dressed in a blazer and professional skirt, her hair pulled back in a way that made her look older, more serious. Old Bop? Her face lit up in a way that made his chest tighten. Miss Kingsley? Miss Kingsley. She laughed. You let me sleep in your bed for 3 days, and now I'm Miss Kingsley. We're at your father's hotel. Seems appropriate. It seems ridiculous. She glanced around, then lowered her voice. How are you? How's the job? How's Maya? Good, all good. What are you doing here? Working. Daddy finally let me join the marketing department. I've been begging for years, but he always said I needed to find myself first. Apparently living in your basement for 3 days counted as finding myself. Glad I could help. Lily touched his arm brief, almost unconscious. Can I buy you coffee in the employee break room, not somewhere fancy? I'd love to catch up. Hear how things are really going. Every instinct told Old Bop to say no. To keep his distance. To not complicate the fragile new life he was building. One coffee, he heard himself say. They sat in the corner of the employee break room, surrounded by off-duty housekeepers and kitchen staff who pretended not to stare at the boss's daughter having coffee with a maintenance worker. Tell me the truth, Lily said, wrapping her hands around her cup. Not the polite version, the real version. About what? Everything. The job, the crew, how people are treating you. Old Bop considered lying. Considered protecting her from the uglier parts. The crew's good, he said finally. They gave me a chance. Carlos, my supervisor, he judged me by my work, nothing else. That's more than I expected. But not everyone's like Carlos. Some people see me and see the guy who's only here because of your father, the con artist who scammed his way in. I hear the whispers, see the looks. That's not fair. Fair's got nothing to do with it. Old Bop shrugged. I knew what I was walking into, knew how it would look. Only thing I can do is outlast the rumors, prove them wrong. You shouldn't have to prove anything. Everybody has to prove something, Miss Kingsley. The difference is what you're proving and to who. Lily was quiet for a moment. I hate that you call me that. What should I call you? Lily, like you did before, when we were just people, not this. Old Bop set down his coffee. We were never just people. You know that. Your world and mine, they don't mix. We got thrown together by accident, and now we're dealing with the aftermath. Is that what you think, that I'm aftermath? I think you're the boss's daughter, and I think I need this job more than I need a friend. The words came out harsher than he intended. Lily flinched. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I didn't think about how this would look. You me having coffee where everyone can see. I just wanted to see you. Why? The question surprised them both. Because... Lily struggled for words. Because you're the most real person I've ever met. You don't want anything from me. You don't care about my name or my money or what I can do for your career. You just see me. Do you know how rare that is in my world? Lily. Rose feels the same way, you know. She talks about you all the time, about how you treated us like actual people, not problems to be managed. Maya, too, I've never met a kid like her. So fierce and honest and good. You did that. You raised her to be that way. Old Bop's throat tightened. I should get back to work. Old Bop. Wait. Lily reached across the table, not quite touching him. I know this is complicated. I know there are 100 reasons why we shouldn't be friends, but I don't want to pretend you don't exist. I can't. He looked at her, this woman from a world so different from his that it might as well be another planet. Saw the sincerity in her eyes, the loneliness she tried so hard to hide. 1 coffee a week, he said finally. Break room, just talking, nothing that could be misunderstood. That's all I'm asking for. And you call me Bop, not Old Bop. That's what my friends call me. Her smile was sunrise breaking through clouds. Deal. The weeks turned into a month. Old Bop fell into a rhythm: work home, Maya sleep repeat. Every Friday coffee with Lily in the break room. Every Sunday dinner with his cousin Marcus, who never stopped warning him about the path he was walking. You're playing with fire, Marcus said one Sunday watching Old Bop help Maya with her homework at the kitchen table. That Kingsley girl people are talking, man. Talking bad. Let them talk. It's not that simple, and you know it. You're the black guy from the basement who's suddenly best friends with the billionaire's daughter. How do you think that story ends? We're not best friends. We're barely friends. We have coffee once a week in a room full of witnesses. That's not what it looks like. I don't care what it looks like. You should. Marcus lowered his voice, glancing at Maya. What happens when her daddy decides he doesn't like his little girl spending time with the maintenance man? What happens when he snaps his fingers and you're out on your ass again? You've got a kid to think about, Bop. A future. Don't throw it away for some rich white girl's savior complex. The words stung because they echoed Old Bop's own fears, the ones he buried deep and tried not to examine. She's not like that. They're all like that. They just hide it better. Old Bop didn't respond. But that night, lying awake while Maya slept, he couldn't stop thinking about what Marcus said. Savior complex. Was that all this was? Lily feeling guilty about the job he lost, the trouble she caused? Buying her way out of that guilt with coffee and conversation, he didn't want to believe it, but he'd been fooled before. The next Friday, Lily showed up to their coffee with a folder of papers. What's this? An application. She slid it across the table. For the management training program, David Chen recommended you. Old Bop stared at the papers. I've been here 6 weeks. And you've impressed everyone who matters. David says you're the best hire he's made in years. The application's just a formality, but you need to fill it out. I don't understand. Why would you? Because you deserve it. Because you've earned it. Because this is exactly what you asked for, a fair chance. Old Bop picked up the folder. His hands weren't quite steady. This isn't charity. It's recognition. Lily's voice was firm. Every person in that program earned their spot, and you will too. My father won't even know you applied until you're accepted. This is about you, Bop. Not us. Not what happened. You. He read through the application, questions about his goals, his experience, his vision for leadership, things he'd never been asked before. I dropped out of high school, he said quietly. Did you know that? Got my GED at 19, but still. Most of these candidates probably have business degrees. And most of them have never worked a real day in their lives. They've got degrees and theories and case studies. You've got actual experience. You know what it's like at the bottom. That's worth more than any diploma. You really believe that? I believe in you. Lily said it simply, like it was obvious. Like believing in a maintenance worker from a basement apartment was the most natural thing in the world. Old Bop took the folder home that night, stayed up until 3 a.m. filling it out, writing and rewriting his answers until the words felt right. Maya found him asleep at the kitchen table the next morning, pen still in his hand. Daddy, what's this? Old Bop blinked awake. It's an application, baby girl. For a better job. The one Lily told you about. How do you know about that? Maya smiled. I listen. You think I don't, but I do. She climbed into his lap, studying the papers. Are you going to be a boss? Maybe. If I get in. You'll get in. How do you know? Because you're my daddy. She said it like it explained everything. And you never give up. He submitted the application that Monday. 2 weeks later, David Chen called him into his office. Congratulations, you're in the program. Old Bop didn't cry, but it was close. The management training program ran 3 months, classes twice a week, assignments, projects, presentations to senior leadership. Old Bop was the oldest person in his cohort by 15 years, surrounded by fresh-faced college graduates with perfect resumes and zero calluses on their hands. They looked at him like he didn't belong. He proved them wrong. Every assignment, every presentation, every group project where his teammates expected him to drag them down and instead found him carrying them forward. Where did you learn all this? One of them asked a young guy named Tyler, who'd warmed up to Old Bop after watching him ace their first presentation. You talk about leadership like you've been doing it your whole life. I've been raising a daughter alone for 8 years, Old Bop said. Trust me, that teaches you more about leadership than any business school. 3 weeks before the program ended, Robert Kingsley walked into the training room. Unannounced. Unexpected. The other candidates straightened in their seats, suddenly aware of who was watching. Old Bop kept his eyes forward. Steady. Don't mind me, Robert said, settling into a chair at the back. I like to sit in occasionally. See who's coming up through the ranks. The instructor, a woman named Patricia, who'd been at Kingston for 20 years, continued her lecture on conflict resolution. But the energy in the room had shifted. Everyone was performing now. Everyone except Old Bop. He participated the same way he always did, asked questions, offered insights from his actual experience, didn't try to impress the billionaire in the back of the room. Afterward, as the other candidates filed out, several of them stopping to shake Robert's hand to make their faces memorable. Old Bop stayed at his desk, gathering his notes. Mr. Langston? He looked up. Robert Kingsley stood beside him. Mr. Kingsley? Walk with me. They walked through the executive floor in silence, past offices where people pretended not to notice the owner strolling by with a maintenance worker turned management trainee. Robert stopped at a window overlooking downtown Detroit. "I've been watching your progress," he said, not turning around. "Getting reports from David, from Patricia, from people who have no reason to lie to me. And I was wrong about you." Robert finally faced him. "Not partially wrong. Completely wrong. I looked at you that first day in your apartment, and I saw everything I expected to see. I didn't see you at all. Most people don't. That's not an excuse. Not for me." Robert's jaw tightened. "I built this company from nothing. I tell myself I'm not like the people who were born into money, that I remember what it's like to struggle. But I don't. I forgot a long time ago. You reminded me." Old Bop didn't know what to say, so he said nothing. "My daughter talks about you constantly," Robert continued. "Lily. She says you're the most genuine person she's ever met, that you make her want to be better, try harder, care more." He paused. "That terrifies me. I haven't. We're not. I know. You've been careful, appropriate, distant even from what I can tell. And that terrifies me even more." "Why?" "Because it means this isn't a game to you. It means whatever's between you two, and don't tell me there's nothing. It's real. And I don't know what to do with real." Old Bop met the older man's eyes. "With respect, Mr. Kingsley, whatever's between your daughter and me isn't your business. It's ours. She's my daughter. She's a grown woman who can make her own choices, and I'm a grown man who knows better than to throw away everything I've built for something that might not last. We're friends, that's all. For now." "For now," Old Bop agreed. "And if that changes, when that changes, you'll hear it from us. Not from rumors." Robert studied him for a long moment. "You're not afraid of me," he said finally. "Everyone in this building is afraid of me, but you're not." "I've been afraid my whole life, Mr. Kingsley. Of losing my job, my apartment, my daughter, of being seen as less than I am. That kind of fear doesn't leave room for being afraid of men in suits with big offices." Something shifted in Robert's expression. Something that might have been respect. "Finish the program," he said. "Earn your place. And then we'll talk about what comes next." He walked away without waiting for a response. Old Bop stayed at the window looking out at the city he'd lived in his entire life. For the first time it looked different. It looked possible. That night, Maya asked him why he was smiling. "Because I think things are going to be okay, baby girl. You always say that. This time I mean it." She studied his face with those two wise eyes. "Does this have to do with Lily?" "It has to do with everything. Work, life, you. And Lily." Old Bop laughed. "You're too smart for your own good." "I know." Maya climbed into his lap. She was almost too big for it now, but neither of them wanted to admit that. "I like her, Daddy. She's nice. And she looks at you like you hung the moon." "How do you know what that looks like?" "Because that's how you look at me." Old Bop held his daughter tight, feeling the weight of everything. The job, the program, Lily, the future pressing down and lifting up all at once. "Whatever happens," he said quietly, "you come first, always. You know that, right?" "I know, Daddy." "Good." Outside, snow began to fall on Detroit. The same snow that had brought two frozen women to his doorstep weeks ago. The same snow that had changed everything. Old Bop watched it fall and wondered what else might change before it melted. The snow melted by February, and with it came the graduation ceremony for the management training program. Old Bop stood in the conference room with 11 other candidates wearing a suit he'd bought with his first full paycheck, not designer, but clean and pressed, and his. Maya sat in the front row, her feet swinging above the floor, a hand-drawn card clutched in her fingers. Daddy's going to be a boss. She'd told everyone who would listen. He worked really, really hard. David Chen handed out the certificates one by one. When he reached Old Bop, he paused. "I've been doing this job for 15 years. David said loud enough for the room to hear. "In all that time, I've never seen someone come in with so much against them and still finish at the top of their class. Congratulations, Bop. You earned this." The room applauded, some of it genuine, some of it polite. Old Bop didn't care about the difference. Maya's cheer was the loudest sound in the room. Afterward, Lily found him in the hallway. "I'm so proud of you. You shouldn't be here." "Why not? It's a celebration." "It's also your father's hotel. People are watching." Lily glanced around. Several employees quickly looked away, pretending they hadn't been staring. "Let them watch," she said. "I'm congratulating a friend. There's nothing wrong with that." "Lily, stop." She moved closer, lowering her voice. "I know you're scared. I know you think this is all going to fall apart. But you just finished top of your class. You've got a real future here. Can you please for 1 minute just let yourself be happy?" Old Bop looked at her. This woman who'd crashed into his life on a frozen morning and somehow never left. Her eyes were bright, hopeful, completely unaware of the storm building around them. "1 minute," he said. "Then I need to get Maya home." "Deal." She hugged him. Quick. Professional. The kind of hug that could be explained away. But he felt the eyes on them anyway. The promotion came 2 weeks later. Assistant operations manager. 3rd floor. Real office. Real responsibilities. Salary that made Old Bop check the paperwork 3 times because he was sure someone had added an extra 0. "Daddy, does this mean we can move?" Maya asked, looking around the cramped basement apartment that had been their home for 3 years. "It means we can start looking." "Can I have my own room?" "You can have your own room." Maya screamed so loud, the neighbors banged on the ceiling. Old Bop let her scream. The new position changed everything and nothing. He still arrived first. Still stayed late. Still worked harder than anyone expected. But now he had a team 6 people who reported to him, who looked to him for guidance and decisions. The first week was chaos. The second week was worse. "You're doing fine," Carlos told him during a late-night coffee break. His old supervisor had become something like a friend. First-time managers always feel like they're drowning. The ones who make it are the ones who keep swimming. "I don't know if I'm swimming or just flailing." "Same thing at the beginning. Just don't stop moving." Old Bop didn't stop. By the end of the first month, his team was functioning. By the second month, they were thriving. People started noticing not just David Chen, but executives, department heads, other managers who'd been skeptical of the maintenance worker who'd somehow climbed into their ranks. "You've got instincts," Patricia said during their weekly check-in. She'd been assigned as his mentor, and she didn't suffer fools. "Can't teach instincts. Either you have them or you don't." "I spent a lot of years watching people, learning what works and what doesn't." That's what I mean. Some people look at a situation and see problems. You look at a situation and see solutions. That's rare. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Prove me right." The whispers changed too. Still there, they'd always be there, but different now. Less skeptical, more curious. Who is this guy? How did he get here? What's his story? Old Bop heard the questions. Let them hang in the air unanswered. His story was his own. He didn't owe it to anyone. Lily noticed the change in him. "You're different," she said during their Friday coffee, still in the break room, still surrounded by witnesses. But something had shifted. They sat closer now, talked longer. The careful distance Old Bop had maintained was eroding week by week. Different how? More confident. Like you finally believe you belong here. "Maybe I'm just better at faking it." "You don't fake anything. That's the whole point of you." "The whole point of me?" Lily laughed. "You know what I mean. Everyone else in this building is performing. trying to be what they think people want them to be. You're just you, all the time. It's refreshing. Refreshing like a cold shower. Refreshing like air, like breathing, like something real in a world full of fake. Old Bop set down his coffee. Lily, we need to talk about something. Her smile faded slightly. That sounds serious. Your father pulled me aside last week, asked about my 5-year plan, my goals for the company, and then he asked about you. What about me? Whether we were still just friends. Whether that was likely to change. Lily's jaw tightened. What did you tell him? The truth. That we're friends. That I respect you too much to be anything else while I'm working for him. And what did he say? He said he appreciates my honesty, and that he hopes I don't change my mind. Because he doesn't think you're good enough for me. Because he's protecting his daughter. I'd do the same thing if I were him. Lily stood up abruptly. I'm not a child. I don't need protecting. I know that.
Yeah.
Do you? Because sometimes I feel like everyone in my life treats me like some fragile thing that'll break if the wind blows wrong. My father, Rose, now you. I'm not trying to protect you. I'm trying to protect myself. The words hung between them. Lily slowly sat back down. What do you mean? I mean that if this, whatever this is, goes wrong, you walk away with a story. I walk away with nothing. No job, no reference, no future in this city. I've got a daughter who depends on me. I can't afford to be reckless. You think being with me would be reckless? I think hoping for something I can't have is the most reckless thing I've ever done. Lily stared at him. You hope for it? Old Bop didn't answer. He couldn't, because the answer was written all over his face, and they both knew it. I hope for it too, she said quietly. Every day, every time I see you in the hallway, every Friday when we sit here pretending this is just coffee between colleagues. Lily. I know all the reasons why it's complicated. I know what people would say. I know my father would lose his mind. But I'm so tired of living my life according to what everyone else thinks. Aren't you? I've never had that luxury. Then let me give it to you. She reached across the table and took his hand. He didn't pull away. The break room went silent. Every eye turned toward them. Old Bop felt the weight of those stares like a physical pressure. People are watching, he said. Let them. This is going to change everything. Maybe it's supposed to. She squeezed his hand once, then let go. Stood up, smoothed her blazer. Think about it, she said. Think about what you actually want. Not what's safe, not what's smart. What you want. She walked out of the break room without looking back. Old Bop sat alone with his cold coffee and the murmur of voices already spreading news through the building like wildfire. By Monday morning, everyone knew. Is it true? Carlos asked, cornering Old Bop in the supply room. You and the Kingsley girl. We had coffee. We held hands. That's it. That's not it. Not around here. You know how fast this kind of thing spreads. I know. Then what the hell are you thinking? You've got everything going for you, new job, new future, everything you've worked for. And you're going to throw it away for what? Carlos? His old supervisor stopped, heard the edge in Old Bop's voice. I'm not throwing anything away, Old Bop continued. I held a woman's hand. A woman who's been nothing but good to me since the day we met. Is that a crime now? It's not about crime. It's about perception. About politics. About the fact that Robert Kingsley could crush you without breaking a sweat, and you're giving him a reason to want to. If he wants to crush me for treating his daughter with respect, then maybe this isn't the company I want to work for. Listen to yourself. You sound like you've already decided. Maybe I have. Carlos shook his head. I thought you were smart, Bop. I really did. But this is suicide. He walked out, leaving old Bop alone with the supply shelves and the weight of consequences he couldn't quite calculate. The summons came on Wednesday. Robert Kingsley's office. 4 p.m. No explanation. Old Bop spent the day preparing for everything termination threats offers he'd be expected to refuse. He called Mrs. Patterson to stay late with Maya, made sure his resignation letter was written and ready. At 3:55, he took the elevator to the top floor. Robert's secretary showed him in without a word. The office was enormous, windows on 3 sides overlooking a city that suddenly looked very small. Robert sat behind a desk that probably cost more than everything Old Bop had ever owned combined. "Close the door." Old Bop closed it, stayed standing. "Sit." "I'd rather stand." Robert's eyes narrowed. "Sit down, Mr. Langston. This is going to take a while." Old Bop sat. For a long moment Robert just looked at him, studying, calculating. The same cold assessment he'd given in that basement apartment months ago. "My daughter is in love with you," Robert said finally. "I assume you know that." "She hasn't told me that." "She didn't have to. I've known Lily her whole life. I know what she looks like when she's performing happiness, and what she looks like when it's real. Lately, it's been real." Old Bop said nothing. "I also know what you look like when you're performing," Robert continued. "You don't. You're exactly the same whether you're talking to a janitor or a CEO. That's either incredibly noble or incredibly stupid. I haven't decided which." "Does it matter?" "It matters because my daughter is involved. Because whatever happens between you two will affect my family, my company, and everything I've built. So yes, Mr. Langston, it matters." "What do you want me to say?" Robert leaned forward. "I want you to tell me the truth. Not what you think I want to hear. Not what you think will keep you employed. The truth. Do you have feelings for my daughter?" The question hit like a punch. Old Bop had spent weeks avoiding this exact conversation. Building walls, maintaining distance, telling himself that hope was something other people could afford. But Robert Kingsley sat across from him demanding honesty. And somehow, in this moment, honesty felt like the only currency he had left. "Yes." The word came out quiet but clear. "Yes, I have feelings for her. I've been trying not to. I've been telling myself all the reasons why it's a bad idea, the job, the difference in our lives, what people would say, what you would think. But none of that changes how I feel when I'm with her." Robert's expression didn't change. "And how do you feel?" "Like I matter. Like she sees me, not my background, not my circumstances, not what I can do for her. Just me. I've never felt that before. Not from anyone except my daughter." "So you love her?" "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." Old Bop's hands tightened on the arms of his chair. "If you're going to fire me, just do it. I won't beg." "I'm not going to fire you." The words hung in the air. Old Bop waited for the catch. "I've spent the last 3 months watching you," Robert said. "Reading reports, talking to people, trying to find the angle, the thing you're really after. Because in my experience everyone wants something. Everyone has an agenda." "And what did you find?" "Nothing. That's what scares me." Robert stood walking to the window. "You turned down money when I offered it. You could have used my daughter's influence to skip the training program, get a better position, cut corners. You didn't. You worked your way up like anyone else, like someone who actually wanted to earn what they got." "That's what I've been doing my whole life." "I know, and that's the problem." Robert turned back around. "My daughter lives in a world where people don't earn things. They inherit them. They network for them. They marry into them. She's never met anyone like you, someone who actually built their life from nothing. Of course she's fascinated. Of course she thinks she's in love. You think it's not real. I think it's untested. I think she's never had to fight for anything, and you've never had anything but fight. I think those two things might feel like compatibility right now. But a year from now, 5 years from now, when the novelty wears off, you think she'll get bored and leave. I think she won't understand what she's signing up for. and I think you'll resent her for not understanding." Old Bop stood. "With respect, Mr. Kingsley, you don't know me. And based on what Lily tells me, you don't know her as well as you think you do. Excuse me. Your daughter isn't fascinated with me because I'm some exotic creature from the wrong side of town. She's fascinated because I actually listen to her. Because I ask about her dreams instead of her trust fund. Because I treat her like a person, not a prize. I treat her like a person. You treat her like a possession, something to be protected and controlled. Every decision you've made about her life has been about what's best for the Kingsley name, not what's best for Lily." Robert's face hardened. "You're out of line." "Maybe. But you asked for the truth. And the truth is that your daughter is brilliant and kind and wasted in that marketing department where you put her to keep her close. She should be running her own gallery, making her own choices, living her own life. And you think you're the one to give her that life. I think she's going to take it whether I'm there or not. The only question is whether you'll still be part of her world when she does." The silence stretched between them. Old Bop expected anger, threats, security being called. Instead, Robert laughed. It was a short, harsh sound, more shock than humor. But it broke something in the tension. "My wife used to talk to me like that," Robert said quietly. "Before she passed, she was the only one who ever told me the truth without caring about the consequences. I'm sorry. I didn't know you'd lost her. 15 years ago. The girls were 13. I raised them alone after that. Did the best I could." Robert's voice caught. "Clearly not good enough if my own daughter feels like she can't talk to me. She's scared of disappointing you." "She could never disappoint me." "Have you told her that—" Robert didn't answer. The question seemed to hit somewhere deep. "What do you want, Mr. Langston?" he asked finally. "Not from me, not from the company. What do you actually want from life?" Old Bop thought about lying, giving the answer that would keep things simple, but he was tired of simple. "I want my daughter to grow up knowing that her father was a good man, that he worked hard and loved deeply and never let the world make him small. I want to build something real, not just a career, but a life. And if Lily wants to be part of that life—" He paused. "Then I want to find out what that looks like. Together." "You're asking for my permission." "No, I'm telling you what I want. Whether I get it is up to her." Robert walked back to his desk, sat down heavily. "I can't stop her from seeing you. She's an adult, makes her own choices. But I can make things very difficult for you professionally. I know. I could blackball you from every hotel and restaurant in this city. I know that too. And you're still willing to risk it." "I've been risking things my whole life, Mr. Kingsley. At least this time I'm risking it for something I actually want." The two men looked at each other across the vast desk. "My daughter's mother was a waitress when I met her," Robert said quietly. "Did you know that I was just starting out? Nobody. Nothing. She believed in me before I believed in myself. Sounds like a good woman." "The best. I spent 20 years trying to live up to her faith in me. And then I spent the next 15 trying to protect our daughters from anyone who might hurt them the way losing her hurt me. That's understandable. It's cowardly. And you're right. I've been controlling Lily instead of trusting her, treating her like a child instead of letting her be an adult." Robert pulled a folder from his desk drawer, slid it across the surface. "What is this? My blessing, if you want to call it that." Old Bop opened the folder. Inside was a single sheet of paper, a job offer. Regional Operations Director, double his current salary, office in the new expansion downtown. "I don't understand." "You've proven yourself. Multiple times. This promotion has been sitting on my desk for 2 weeks because I was trying to decide whether to offer it or use it as leverage to keep you away from Lily." Robert smiled grimly. "Consider this me choosing not to be a coward for once. This isn't because of her. It's because of you. Because you're good at what you do and you've earned the opportunity. What happens between you and my daughter is between you and my daughter. I'm done trying to control it." Old Bop looked at the offer, then at the man who'd wanted to buy his silence months ago and was now handing him a future. "Why the change of heart?" "Because you talk to me like my wife used to. Like I'm a person, not a name. Nobody does that anymore." Robert's voice was thick. "And because my daughter is happy. Really happy. And I've spent too long being the reason she's not." Old Bop took the folder. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. If you hurt her, I'll destroy you. That hasn't changed." "I wouldn't expect anything less." He stood, shook Robert's hand, walked toward the door. "Mr. Langston." Old Bop turned. "Call me Robert. If you're going to be family eventually, we might as well start acting like it." The word hit like lightning. Family. Old Bop nodded once and walked out of the office. His hands didn't stop shaking until he reached the parking garage. Lily was waiting by his car. "How did you know I'd be here?" Rose called. "Said Daddy's secretary told her you'd been summoned." Lily's face was pale. "What happened? Are you fired? Did he threaten you?" "He offered me a promotion." "What?" Old Bop showed her the folder, watched her eyes scan the page, watched confusion become disbelief, become something that looked like hope. "I don't understand," she said. "I thought he'd—" "He gave us his blessing." Lily's head snapped up. "His what?" "He said what happens between us is between us, that he's done trying to control it." "My father said that Robert Kingsley—" "He also said if I hurt you, he'll destroy me. So we're not exactly throwing out the rule book." Lily laughed a shocked, watery sound. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Hey!" Old Bop reached up, wiped them away. "Why are you crying?" "Because I've been so scared. For months. Terrified that I was going to have to choose between you and my family. That no matter what I decided, I'd lose something I loved. And now I don't know what to feel." She looked at him, really looked. "What do we do now?" Old Bop thought about all the walls he'd built, all the careful distance, all the nights lying awake telling himself that hope was dangerous. Then he thought about his daughter asking if Lily looked at him like he hung the moon. "Now," he said, "we stop pretending we're just friends." He kissed her. Right there in the parking garage, surrounded by concrete and fluorescent lights, and the ghosts of every fear that had kept them apart. When they finally pulled away, Lily was smiling through her tears. "That's a good start," she said. "Just a start. We've got a lot of catching up to do." Old Bop laughed a real laugh, the kind he hadn't felt in years. "Yeah," he said. "I guess we do." They walked out of the parking garage together. Not hiding, not pretending. Just two people who'd finally stopped being afraid. The news spread faster than either of them expected. By Friday morning, Old Bop's promotion was company-wide knowledge. By Friday afternoon, so was his relationship with Lily Kingsley. The two stories tangled together in the whispers, becoming something neither had intended. "You hear about Langston. The maintenance guy. What about him? Regional operations director. Plus he's dating the boss's daughter. Well, that explains everything." Old Bop heard the conversations. In elevators, in hallways, in the break room where he and Lily had shared their first coffee months ago. He let them talk, let them draw their conclusions. But it wore on him. "You're quiet tonight," Lily said. They were sitting in his new apartment, a 2-bedroom in a decent neighborhood, the first real home he'd been able to afford. Maya was doing homework in her room door open, music playing softly. Just thinking. About what people are saying. About whether they're right. Lily set down her wine glass. "Right about what? That I got where I am because of you. Because of your father. That none of it was earned. You know that's not true. Do I?" Old Bop walked to the window. "I finished top of my class, worked harder than anyone, did everything right. But all people see is the guy who's sleeping with the boss's daughter. We weren't together when you got promoted. The timeline doesn't matter, Lily. The story matters. And the story is that I climbed into a bed and climbed out with a corner office. That's disgusting and wrong. That's how people think. Lily came up behind him, wrapped her arms around his waist. Since when do you care what people think? Since I have a daughter who goes to school with kids whose parents work at your father's company. Since Maya came home last week asking why Sophia Matthews said her daddy bought his job with kisses. Lily went still. What? 8 years old, and she's already defending me against rumors she doesn't understand. Old Bop's voice was heavy. I wanted better for her. I wanted her to see her father succeed on his own terms, not like this. Bop, look at me. He turned. Lily's eyes were fierce. You did succeed on your own terms. Every single day for months you proved yourself. David Chen recommended you for the program. Patricia advocated for your promotion. My father signed off on it, yes, but he signed off because you earned it. The people who matter know the truth. And the people who don't, they don't matter. They matter to Maya. Lily's face softened. Then we'll talk to her. Together. Help her understand that people say cruel things when they're jealous or scared or small. It's not about you. It's about them. She's 8. She shouldn't have to learn that yet. No, she shouldn't. But she's got you for a father, which means she's going to be okay. She's going to be more than okay. Old Bop pulled her close, resting his chin on her head. I don't know how to do this. Any of it. The job, the relationship, the what? The being happy. It's not something I'm used to. Lily laughed softly. Me neither. We'll figure it out together. Maya appeared in the doorway, homework pages clutched in her hand. Daddy, can Lily help me with math? She's better at fractions than you. Hey, I'm great at fractions. You got the last 3 wrong. Lily covered her laugh with a cough. I'd be happy to help, sweetie. She took Maya's hand and led her back to the kitchen table. Old Bop watched them, his daughter chattering about denominators, the woman he was falling in love with, listening, like every word mattered. For a moment, the whispers faded. For a moment, everything felt possible. The moment didn't last. Monday morning brought a visitor. Old Bop hadn't expected his cousin Marcus waiting in the lobby of the Kingston Hotel Arms, crossed face hard. We need to talk. I'm about to start work. This won't take long. They stepped outside around the corner from the main entrance. Marcus looked older than Old Bop remembered, tired, angry. The family's talking, Marcus said. All of them. Aunties, uncles, everybody. They're saying you sold out. Sold out how? You know how. Dating the white girl. Taking the fancy job. Moving to the nice neighborhood. Forgetting where you came from. Old Bop felt the familiar burn rising in his chest. I haven't forgotten anything. No. When's the last time you came to Sunday dinner? When's the last time Maya saw her great-grandmother? When's the last time you set foot in the old neighborhood? I've been busy. Too busy for family. Not too busy for the Kingsleys, though. Not too busy to play house with the billionaire's daughter. You don't know what you're talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking about. Marcus stepped closer. I watched you grow up, Bop. Watched you struggle. Watched you fight for every single thing you ever got. And now I'm watching you throw all that away for people who will never see you as one of them. Lily's not like that. They're all like that. You think Robert Kingsley invites you to family dinners because he respects you. You think his country club friends are going to shake your hand and call you brother. You're a novelty to them. A story they tell at parties. Oh, you simply must meet my daughter's boyfriend. He used to mop floors here. Isn't that charming? Stop. You need to hear this, because nobody else is going to say it. You're Black Bop, in America. That means something. It means that no matter how high you climb, no matter how many suits you buy, no matter how many white women you date, you're never going to be one of them. And the minute you forget that, the minute you let your guard down, they'll remind you. Old Bop's hands were shaking. Are you done? I'm done when you wake up. When you remember who you are and where you came from. When you stop chasing something that was never meant for people like us. People like us. Old Bop repeated the words like they were poison. You mean people who work hard and earn what they get? People who refuse to stay in the box the world built for them? Yeah, Marcus. I'm exactly like that. And I'm not apologizing for it. I'm not asking you to apologize. I'm asking you to be careful. Careful of what success happiness. The chance to give my daughter a better life. Careful of forgetting that better doesn't mean white. That success doesn't mean abandoning your people. The words hung between them. Two men who'd grown up in the same house, same neighborhood, same struggle. Now standing on opposite sides of something neither could name. I haven't abandoned anyone, Old Bop said quietly. But I'm not going to limit my life to make other people comfortable. Not anymore. Not for anyone. Marcus shook his head. You sound like them already. Maybe I sound like someone who finally figured out that the ceiling we grew up under wasn't real. That we built it ourselves brick by brick every time we told ourselves we couldn't have more. That's not... I love you, Marcus. Your family. But I'm not going to apologize for wanting more. For reaching for something that nobody said I could have. And if that makes me a sellout in your eyes, then I guess that's what I am. Old Bop walked back into the hotel without looking back. His hands didn't stop shaking until lunchtime. Lily found him in his office late that afternoon, staring at the city through windows that still felt borrowed. Your assistant said you've been in here all day. No meetings, no calls, just sitting. Thinking. About your cousin. You heard. Rose saw you outside this morning. She didn't eavesdrop, but she said you looked upset afterward. Lily closed the door. What happened? Old Bop told her. All of it. The accusations, the warnings, the fear that maybe Marcus was right, that maybe he was chasing something that would never truly accept him. Lily listened without interrupting. When he finished, she sat on the edge of his desk. Do you believe him? Part of me does. The part that's been told my whole life that there are places I don't belong, doors that won't open, tables I'll never sit at. And the other part? The other part wants to prove him wrong. Wants to smash through every ceiling and show Maya that she can have anything she's willing to work for. Then do that. It's not that simple. It is, though. Lily took his hands. I can't change the world. I can't make racism disappear or force people to see you the way I see you. But I can stand beside you. I can fight with you. I can make sure that every door that opens for me opens for you too. And when your world doesn't want me there, then it's not my world anymore. I didn't choose where I was born, but I'm choosing who I want to be. And I want to be someone who stands with you, no matter what. Your father made his choice, and I'm making mine. Her grip tightened. I love you, Bop. Not despite where you came from, but because of who you are. And who you are is someone worth fighting for. The words hit him like a wave. You love me. Was that not clear? I thought I'd been pretty obvious. You've never said it before. I'm saying it now. Lily's voice was steady. I love you. I love Maya. I love the life we're building together. And I'm not letting anyone, not my father, not your cousin, not the whole world, take that away. Old Bop pulled her close, held her tight. I love you too, he said. I've been scared to say it. Scared that saying it out loud would make it real, and real things can break. Then we'll be real together. And if we break, we'll put each other back together. For a long moment, they just held each other. Then, his phone buzzed. Maya's school. Mr. Langston, this is Principal Davis. We need you to come in. There's been an incident. Old Bop's blood went cold. Is Maya okay? She's fine, physically. But there was an altercation with another student. We need to discuss it in person. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up. Lily was already grabbing her jacket. I'm coming with you. Lily, you don't have to. Try to stop me." They drove in tense silence. Old Bop's mind raced through every possibility: what happened, who was involved, how bad it was. Principal Davis met them in the office. Maya sat in a chair against the wall, her dress torn dirt on her cheek, eyes red from crying. "Daddy!" She launched herself into his arms. He held her, feeling her small body shake with sobs. "What happened?" "Sophia said things. Bad things. About you and Lily. She said. Maya's voice broke. She couldn't get the words out. Principal Davis cleared her throat. Ms. Matthews was heard making inappropriate comments about Mr. Langston's relationship with Ms. Kingsley. The language was racially charged. Maya responded physically. She hit her. She pushed her. Ms. Matthews fell and scraped her knee. Both girls will be facing consequences. Both girls. Old Bop's voice went cold. My daughter gets called names, racial slurs apparently, and she's the one facing consequences. Mr. Langston, we have a zero-tolerance policy for physical violence. What about your policy for hate speech? The comments were inappropriate, certainly, but what? But they weren't violent enough. But they didn't leave a mark you could photograph. Bop. Lily's hand on his arm, steady, grounding. He took a breath, forced himself to lower his voice. My daughter was attacked, maybe not with fists, but with words that carried generations of pain. Words that told her she doesn't belong, that her father doesn't belong, that love between people who look different is wrong. And you're telling me that her response, the response of an 8-year-old who doesn't know how to process that kind of hate, is the problem here. Principal Davis shifted uncomfortably. I understand your frustration. No, you don't. But you're going to. Old Bop knelt down to Maya's level. Baby girl, look at me. She looked up, tears still streaming. Did Sophia say those things? The things about Daddy and Lily? Maya nodded. And what did she call Daddy? Maya's lip trembled. She whispered the word, ugly, ancient, designed to wound. Old Bop felt it like a knife in his chest, but he kept his face calm, steady. And then you pushed her. I wanted her to stop. I wanted her to take it back. I know, baby, I know. He wiped her tears. But pushing doesn't make people take things back. It just gives them more things to say. I'm sorry, Daddy. Are you mad at me? I'm not mad at you. I'm proud of you for standing up for our family. But there are better ways to stand up. Stronger ways. Ways that don't give them ammunition. Maya sniffled. What ways? By being so excellent, so brilliant, so undeniably good that they can't say anything except your name with respect. That's how we fight, baby girl. Not with fists. With everything we are. He stood back up, facing Principal Davis. My daughter will accept whatever consequences you decide. But I expect the same standards to be applied to Ms. Matthews. Racial harassment is violence. If you don't recognize that we have a bigger problem than one pushed child. The principal nodded slowly. I'll speak with Ms. Matthews and her parents, and review our policies regarding verbal harassment. You do that. Old Bop took Maya's hand. Lily fell in step beside them. They walked out of the school together. In the car, Maya sat in the back seat, quiet. Daddy, yeah, baby girl, is it always going to be like this? People saying mean things because of how we look, because of who we love. Old Bop met her eyes in the rearview mirror. The question deserved honesty. She'd earned that. Sometimes. Yeah. The world's not always fair, Maya. People are scared of what's different, scared of what they don't understand. And sometimes that fear comes out as cruelty. That's not fair. No, it's not. Then why don't we just stop? Go back to how things were before, when nobody looked at us. Lily turned around in her seat. Can I answer that one? Maya nodded. Because going back means hiding. It means pretending that the way things were is the way they have to be. And your daddy has spent his whole life being told that he can only have so much, go so far, dream so big. If he stops now, If we stop now, then all those people who said he couldn't make it get to be right. But it hurts. Yes, it does. It hurts a lot. But you know what hurts more? Giving up. Looking back years from now and wondering what could have been if we'd just been brave enough to try. Maya was quiet for a long moment. Sophia's mom works at the hotel, she said finally. That's why she knows about you and Daddy. Old Bop's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Who's her mom? I don't know her name, but Sophia said she's a manager. She said her mom thinks Daddy only got his job because of Lily. She said it at dinner, and Sophia heard. Old Bop exchanged a look with Lily. Don't do anything, Lily said quietly. Not yet. Let me handle it. Lily. Trust me. The next morning, Lily walked into HR with a formal complaint. Not against the employee, not directly. Against the company culture that allowed personal opinions about colleagues' relationships to spread to the point where their children were affected. This isn't about one person, she told the HR director. This is about creating an environment where everyone is judged on their work, not their personal lives. Where children don't come home crying because of things their parents said at dinner. The investigation took 2 weeks. 3 employees were formally counseled. New policies were implemented regarding workplace gossip and personal privacy. The employee who'd been identified as Sophia's mother was transferred to a different department, not fired, but watched. Old Bop heard about it through official channels. When he tried to thank Lily, she waved him off. I didn't do it for you. I did it for Maya, and for everyone else who's ever been judged for who they love. Still, thank you. You can thank me by taking me to dinner. A real dinner. In public. Where everyone can see us and deal with it. Old Bop smiled. That sounds like a challenge. It's a date. Saturday. Wear something nice. Define nice. Not your work suit. Something that says, I'm taking this amazing woman somewhere special. I'm not sure I own that. Then we're going shopping first. Saturday night, they walked into one of Detroit's finest restaurants, the kind of place Old Bop had only seen from the outside. Lily had made reservations. He'd bought a new jacket. The hostess did a double take when she saw them together. Recovered quickly. Right this way, Ms. Kingsley. They were seated near the window. Old Bop felt the eyes on them, curiosity, judgment, a few sympathetic smiles from couples who perhaps understood. You're nervous, Lily said. I'm terrified. Why? Because this is your world. These are your people. And I'm the guy who still checks the prices on the menu before ordering. These aren't my people. They're just people who have money. There's a difference. Is there? My people are the ones who show up when it matters, who tell the truth even when it hurts, who love without conditions. She reached across the table, took his hand. You, Maya, Rose, my father when he's not being impossible. That's my people. And this place is just expensive food. It's not who I am. The waiter arrived. Old Bop ordered without looking at the prices. The food was good. The conversation was better. By the second glass of wine, he'd almost forgotten they were being watched. I want to meet your grandmother, Lily said suddenly. What? Maya mentioned her great-grandmother, that she hasn't seen her in a while. I'd like to meet her. Lily, she lives in the old neighborhood. It's not exactly... I know where she lives. Rose looked her up. Lily smiled at his surprise. We're thorough. Why do you want to meet her? Because she raised you. Because she's part of who you are. Because if I'm going to be in your life, I want to know all of it, not just the parts that fit neatly into my world. Old Bop stared at her. This woman who kept surprising him, who kept pushing past every wall he built. She'll interrogate you. I hope so. She'll probably say inappropriate things. I'm counting on it. And Marcus will be there. He's not going to make it easy. I didn't fall in love with you because it was easy, Bop. I fell in love with you because you're worth the hard parts. He lifted his glass. To the hard parts then. She clinked her glass against his. To all of it. They finished dinner, walked out into the Detroit night. That wasn't so bad, old Bop admitted. See, the world didn't end. Not yet. Pessimist. Realist. Lily stopped walking, turned to face him. I have something to tell you. Old Bop's stomach tightened. That sounds serious. It is. She took a deep breath. My father offered me a position, head of the new community development initiative. It would mean leaving the marketing department, working directly with local organizations, investing in neighborhoods that need it. That sounds incredible. It would start in your old neighborhood. Old Bop went still. He's been planning it for months, Lily continued. Before we were together. It was supposed to be his legacy project, giving back to communities that got left behind when the city grew around them. But when he told me about it, all I could think was, this is where you came from. This is Maya's family. This could change things, really change them. And you'd be running it. If I take the job. But I wanted to ask you first. Make sure you're okay with it. Make sure it doesn't feel like, I don't know, charity, intrusion, a rich white girl swooping in to save the neighborhood. Old Bop thought about his grandmother's house, the cracked sidewalks, the empty storefronts, the kids with nowhere to go and nothing to do. It's not charity if you do it right, he said slowly. If you listen to what people actually need instead of telling them what you think they need. I want to listen. I want to learn. And I want you beside me, helping me understand. Me. You know these people. You know this place. You could make sure we're doing it right. She paused. Also, my father suggested we co-lead it. Together. Robert Kingsley wants me to run a community development project with his daughter. He said you're the only person he trusts not to let me screw it up. Old Bop laughed. For the first time all night, real and full and free. He actually said that, word for word. Your father is a strange man. Tell me about it. He pulled her close. You really want to do this? I really do. With you. Then let's do it. Lily's smile was brighter than the city lights. There's one more thing, she said. More. The project kicks off in 3 months. Which means we should probably visit your grandmother before then. Let her know what's coming. She's going to have opinions. I hope so. I want to hear them. Old Bop looked at this woman, this impossible, stubborn, beautiful woman who had crashed into his life on a frozen morning and refused to leave. Sunday dinner, he said. This week, you, me, and Maya. Fair warning, there will be questions. Lots of questions. I'm ready. No, you're not. But you will be. They walked to the car hand in hand. Behind them, the restaurant windows glowed. People watched. People talked. Old Bop didn't look back. He was done looking back. Sunday came faster than Old Bop was ready for. He stood outside his grandmother's house, the same faded blue paint, the same crooked porch steps, the same mailbox with Langston written in his grandfather's handwriting. 20 years of weather hadn't erased it. Daddy, you're stalling. Maya tugged at his sleeve. Lily stood beside him holding a pie she'd baked herself twice after burning the first one. I'm not stalling. I'm preparing. You've been preparing for 20 minutes. Grandma Essie's watching through the window. Old Bop looked up. Sure enough, his grandmother's face peered through the curtain, expression unreadable. All right, let's go. They climbed the steps. Before Old Bop could knock, the door swung open. Essie Langston was 82 years old, 4 feet 11 inches tall, and had never backed down from anything in her life. She looked at Lily the way a general looks at an unfamiliar soldier. So you're the one. Yes, ma'am. I'm Lily. I know who you are. Seen your picture in the papers. Robert Kingsley's daughter. Essie's eyes narrowed. Thought you'd be taller. I get that a lot. A beat of silence. Then Essie's face cracked into a smile. Well, don't just stand there. Food's getting cold. She turned and walked inside. Lily let out a breath she'd been holding. That went better than expected, she whispered. That was the easy part, Old Bop whispered back. Wait until dinner. The house smelled like Old Bop's childhood collard greens and cornbread and something sweet in the oven. His Aunt Clara stood at the stove. His Uncle Jerome sat in his usual chair by the television, and Marcus leaned against the kitchen doorframe, arms crossed, expression closed. Look who finally showed up, Marcus said. Been 6 weeks since we've seen you, cousin. Been busy, I bet. Marcus. Essie's voice cut through the tension like a blade. That's enough. We have a guest. Yes, ma'am. Lily stepped forward, extending her hand to Marcus. We haven't officially met. I'm Lily. Marcus looked at her hand, then at Old Bop, then back at her hand. He shook it. Marcus. I'm the cousin who tried to talk some sense into him. Didn't work. I've heard. He's stubborn. You noticed. Hard not to. Something shifted in Marcus's expression. Not warmth, not yet, but something less hostile. Dinner's ready, Aunt Clara announced. Everyone sit down and act civilized for once. They sat around the table, 7 chairs, 7 plates, 7 people who'd known each other their whole lives, plus one who was trying to find her place among them. Essie said, Grace. The food was passed. And then the questions began. So, Lily. Uncle Jerome leaned forward. What exactly do you do? I work in marketing at my father's company, but I'm transitioning to run a new community development initiative. Community development. Jerome repeated the words like they were foreign. What's that mean in plain English? It means investing in neighborhoods that have been overlooked, building affordable housing, supporting local businesses, creating opportunities. Sounds expensive. It is. That's why it needs to be done right. And you think you know how to do it right? A girl from your background. No. Lily's answer surprised everyone. I don't know. That's why I need help. That's why I want to work with people who actually understand what these communities need. People like us. People exactly like you. If you're willing. Jerome sat back studying her. Huh. That's not what I expected you to say. What did you expect? Some speech about lifting people up, making a difference. The kind of thing rich folks say when they want to feel good about themselves without actually changing anything. I'm not interested in feeling good about myself. I'm interested in doing something that matters. The table went quiet. Essie set down her fork. You know what I think. Her voice was calm, but carried weight. I think you're either the real thing or the best actress I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot. I hope I'm the real thing. I'm trying to be. Trying counts for something. Essie looked at Old Bop. You trust her. With my life. With Maya's life. That's a big thing to say. It's the truth. Essie nodded slowly. Then she turned back to Lily. My grandson grew up in this house. Same room where his mother grew up before she passed. I raised him after we lost her. Taught him everything I know about being a man, about doing right even when wrong is easier. He's the best man I've ever met. He is. And I'm not going to let anyone hurt him, not even someone with a pretty smile and good intentions. I understand. Do you? Because when things get hard, and they will get hard, you're going to have choices to make. Go back to your easy life, your fancy parties, your people who've never struggled a day. Or stay here in the mud with a man who's going to face things you can't even imagine. Which one are you going to choose? Lily met the old woman's eyes without flinching. I already chose. I'm here. Here is easy. Here is one dinner. What about next year? 10 years. When your father's friends whisper about you. When your name becomes a punchline in their circles. Then they're not my circles anymore. Easy to say. Maybe, but I mean it. Essie was quiet for a long moment. The whole table held its breath. Then she reached across and patted Lily's hand. "We'll see. Talk is cheap. But you've got good eyes, honest eyes. I'll give you the chance to prove you're worth my grandson." "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. I'm going to be watching." Lily smiled. "I'd be disappointed if you weren't." The tension broke. Conversation resumed. Food was eaten. Stories were told, embarrassing ones about old Bop's childhood that made Lily laugh and Maya beg for more. By the time dessert came out, something had shifted. Not acceptance that would take time, but the beginning of it. The first cracks in the wall. Marcus pulled old Bop aside while the women cleared dishes. "She's different than I thought." "I told you." "You told me a lot of things. I didn't believe most of them." "And now?" Marcus shrugged. "Now I'm willing to wait and see. That's more than I was willing to do yesterday." "That's progress. Don't push it." But there was a hint of a smile. "She really burned that pie twice." The smoke alarm went off both times. Maya had to open all the windows. Marcus laughed a real laugh. "All right. Maybe she's human after all." "She's more than human. She's the best thing that ever happened to me, except for Maya. And the job, the promotion. All of it happening at once. I earned that. Every bit of it." "I know you did. I knew it when I said those things to you. I was just—" Marcus trailed off. "Scared, I guess. Scared of losing you to a world that doesn't want us." "You're not losing me. I'm still here, still family." "You're different, though." "Different doesn't mean gone. Different just means I'm becoming who I was always supposed to be." Marcus nodded slowly. "Grandma Essie said something to me last night, after I told her about you and Lily." "What did she say?" "She said that the strongest trees are the ones that grow toward the light even when they're planted in shade. She said you've been in shade your whole life, and maybe this woman, maybe this chance is your light." Old Bop's throat tightened. That sounds like her. "She also said if Lily hurts you, she's got a shotgun in the closet that still works." Also sounds like her. They laughed together. For the first time in months, it felt like old times. "I'm sorry," Marcus said. "For what I said. For assuming the worst. You were protecting me. That's what family does." "Yeah. But sometimes protecting means letting go, letting you find your own way." "Does this mean you'll come to the community project meetings? We could use your input." "You want me involved?" "I want everyone involved. That's the whole point. Building something together. Not from the outside, but from within." Marcus considered. "I'll think about it." "That's all I'm asking." 3 months later, the Kingsley Community Development Initiative launched. Old Bop stood at the podium in the community center, the same building where he'd played basketball as a kid, where his mother had attended meetings, where his grandmother still came for bingo on Thursday nights. The room was packed. Local residents, business owners, city officials. Robert Kingsley sat in the front row beside Essie, an unlikely pair, united by their investment in what was about to happen. Lily stood at Old Bop's side. Maya sat between her great-grandmother and her grandfather figure, a relationship that had grown unexpectedly warm over the past months. "Thank you all for being here," Old Bop began. "I'm not going to give you a long speech about revitalization or investment returns or economic development. You've heard those speeches before, from people who came into this neighborhood, took pictures, made promises, and left." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. "This is different, and I can say that because I grew up 3 blocks from here. My grandmother still lives in the house where my mother was born. I know these streets. I know these people. I know what we need because I needed it too." He paused, looking out at faces he'd known his whole life. "What we're building isn't charity. It's partnership. Every decision goes through a community board made up of people who live here. Every project gets approved by the people it affects, and every dollar gets tracked and reported publicly, so everyone knows exactly where the money goes." "Who's on this board?" someone called out. "Your neighbors, local business owners, people you trust. We've already got applications from 30 residents. The board will be elected by the community, not appointed by us." More murmurs, surprised this time. Hopeful. "And what about jobs?" Another voice. "Real jobs, not just construction gigs that disappear when the building's done." Lily stepped forward. "Every business we support commits to hiring locally first. Every building we construct will have space reserved for community enterprises. We're not just building structures, we're building careers." "How do we know you'll keep those promises?" "Because I'll be here," old Bob said. "Not in some downtown office. Here, my daughter is going to grow up watching this project. My grandmother is going to see it from her porch. If we fail, I don't get to run away. I have to face every single one of you." Silence. Then from the back of the room, a voice. "I believe him." Marcus stepped forward. "I've known this man my whole life. We grew up together. We struggled together. And I've watched him become something I didn't think was possible. Not because he forgot where he came from, but because he remembered. Every single day. He remembered, and he fought to make it mean something." He looked at old Bob. "So yeah, I believe him. And I'm in." One by one, hands went up around the room. Volunteers, supporters, believers. Old Bob felt something swell in his chest, pride and terror and hope all tangled together. "Then let's get to work," he said. The first year was hard, harder than old Bob had imagined. Budgets ran over, contractors fell through. Community meetings sometimes turned into shouting matches. There were nights he came home exhausted, doubting everything. But Lily was there, every night, every doubt. "You're doing something that's never been done," she reminded him during one particularly brutal week. "Of course it's hard. If it were easy, someone would have done it already. What if we fail? Then we fail trying, and we learn, and we try again. You really believe that?" "I believe in you. That's enough." Maya watched her father work, watched him struggle, watched him get back up every time he got knocked down. "Daddy, why do you keep going?" she asked one night. "When it's so hard." Old Bob pulled her onto his lap. She was almost too big for it now, but neither of them wanted to admit that. "Because some things are worth fighting for, baby girl. Even when the fighting hurts, especially when it hurts." "Like what?" "Like family, like home, like making sure the next kid who grows up where I grew up has more chances than I did." "Is that why you work so hard?" "That's exactly why." Maya was quiet for a moment. "I want to help." "You already help. Every day." "No, I mean really help. When I'm bigger, I want to do what you do." Old Bob's heart clenched. "You can do anything you want, Maya. Doctor, lawyer, artist, anything. I know, and I want to do this. Help people, build things, make places better." He hugged her tight. "Then you will. I promise you will." The second year was better. The community center renovations finished. 2 new businesses opened in the retail spaces. They'd built a bakery run by a woman old Bob had known since childhood, and a tutoring center started by 3 local teachers who'd pooled their savings. The third year was better still. Housing units opened. Families moved in. Children played in parks that had been abandoned lots just 2 years before. And somewhere in the middle of it all, on a Tuesday evening in spring, old Bob asked Lily to marry him. Not in a fancy restaurant, not with a crowd watching. In his grandmother's kitchen with Essie pretending not to listen from the living room, and Maya hiding behind the door she thought nobody knew about. "This isn't how I planned it," old Bob said, the ring box trembling slightly in his hands. "I had this whole thing worked out. Dinner, sunset, the riverfront where we used to walk." "So what happened?" "I couldn't wait. I was sitting here watching you help my grandmother with the dishes, and I couldn't wait another second." Lily's eyes were bright with tears. "Is that a proposal?" "It's the start of one, if you'll let me finish." "By all means." Old Bob took her hands. "I've spent my whole life being told what I couldn't have. Couldn't have that job. couldn't live in that neighborhood, couldn't love that woman. And I believed it. For a long time, I believed it. And now I know that the only limits that matter are the ones we put on ourselves. You taught me that. You and Maya and this whole crazy journey we've been on. Bop, let me finish, please. He took a breath. I'm not a perfect man. I come with baggage, a lot of it. I come with a daughter who will always come first. I come with a family that's going to have opinions about everything. And I come with a past that some people will never let me escape. I know all of that. I know you do. That's why I'm asking. Because you know everything and you're still here. You're still choosing this, choosing us. He opened the box. The ring was simple, a single stone, modest but real. Bought with his own money, not Kingsley money. Lily, will you marry me? Not because of who your father is, or what our families think, or what the world expects, but because when I imagine the rest of my life, you're in every single picture. Lily laughed, a wet, joyful sound. Yes, obviously yes. Did you really think I'd say anything else? I've learned not to assume anything. She threw her arms around him. From the living room, Essie called out, "About time." From behind the door, Maya exploded into the kitchen. "Daddy, she said yes." "I know, baby girl. I was here. Can I see the ring? Can I be in the wedding? Can I throw flowers?" "Yes to all of it." The kitchen filled with noise, Essie shuffling in to see the ring, Maya dancing around the table, Lily crying and laughing at the same time. Old Bop stood in the middle of it all, watching the chaos, feeling a peace he'd never known existed. The wedding was small. Essie's church, 50 guests, Marcus as best man, Rose as maid of honor, Maya as the flower girl who took her job more seriously than anyone had ever taken anything. Robert Kingsley walked his daughter down the aisle with tears in his eyes and shook Old Bop's hand like a man greeting an equal. "Take care of her," he said. "I will. And let her take care of you. She's stubborn that way." "I've noticed." They exchanged vows they'd written themselves. Lily spoke about finding light in unexpected places. Old Bop spoke about the courage to hope when hope seemed foolish. When the minister pronounced them married, Maya cheered louder than anyone. "That's my daddy," she announced to the entire church. "And that's my Lily." The reception was at the community center, the one they'd rebuilt together. Tables filled with food from local businesses they'd helped launch. Music from a band that had practiced in the youth program they'd funded. Everything they'd built celebrating who they'd become. "You did it," Marcus said, finding Old Bop near the punch bowl. "All of it. The job, the girl, the whole impossible dream. We did it. None of this happens alone." "Yeah, but you were the one who made the first choice. That morning when you could have walked past those women. You stopped. Everything else grew from that." I think about that sometimes. What would have happened if I'd kept walking? You wouldn't have. That's not who you are. Maybe. Not maybe. Definitely. Marcus raised his glass. To choices. The ones that make us and the ones that break us. And to being smart enough to know the difference. They clinked glasses. 5 years later, the community initiative had expanded to 3 more neighborhoods. Old Bop served on the city's development board. Lily ran operations for the entire foundation. Maya had just started high school with plans to study urban planning. On the anniversary of the day they met, a frozen December morning that felt like a lifetime ago, they walked together through the old neighborhood. The blue house still stood, though Essie had passed the year before. They'd kept it, turned it into a community resource center. A plaque by the door read, "Essie Langston House," with her picture below. "She would have hated that picture," Old Bop said. "Said it made her look old." She was old. Don't let her hear you say that. They walked past the basement apartment where everything had started. It was gone now, torn down, replaced by affordable housing units with heat that worked and walls that didn't leak. "Do you ever miss it?" Lily asked. The apartment, no. The simplicity. Just you and Maya before everything got complicated. Old Bop thought about it. Really thought. No, he said finally. Simple wasn't simple. Simple was survival. Simple was counting dollars and hoping they stretched. This, he gestured at the neighborhood around them, transformed but still recognizable. This is living. Actually, living. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. The hard parts mean we're doing something that matters. Maya jogged up to them, phone in hand. Dad, Mom, the youth center just got approved for the expansion grant. That's amazing, baby girl. I told you the proposal would work. You have to trust my presentation skills. When did you start having presentation skills? When I started watching you. Both of you. Maya grinned. Now come on. The ribbon cutting's in an hour and you're both underdressed. She jogged ahead, already making calls, already planning. Lily slipped her hand into Old Bop's. She's going to change the world. She already has. She changed mine. They walked toward the future they'd built together from nothing, against everything the world said was possible. On a frozen morning years ago, a man had made a choice. Not because it was safe, not because it was smart, not because anyone would have blamed him for walking away. He made it because it was right. And that choice, that single moment of humanity in a world that often forgot what humanity looked like, had rippled outward. Through jobs and families and neighborhoods and lives. Through a daughter who learned that goodness mattered. Through a woman who learned that love could bridge any divide. Through a community that learned it didn't have to accept the limits others imposed. Old Bop thought about that sometimes. About how close he'd come to walking past. How many other moments like that existed in every person's life, choices that seemed small but carried the weight of everything that followed. He thought about it, and he chose to keep choosing. Every day, every moment, every chance to do right instead of easy. Because that's what good people did. That's what his daughter had said, standing up to a billionaire in defense of her father. That's what he still believed. And standing there on a December morning that no longer felt cold, surrounded by everything he'd built and everyone he loved. Old Bop knew one thing with absolute certainty. The world would always try to tell him what he couldn't have, and he would always prove it wrong.